She sent the message at 11:47 p.m. No punctuation except the laugh. Ha ha. That was her, always needing to feel like she'd already won. I stared at the text under the flicker of a streetlight, standing outside the apartment I'd just been evicted from. Not by law, but by ego. My wife, the CEO. The self-made powerhouse everyone admired. Sharp mind, sharper tongue. She'd changed the locks, took the house, the cars, and even froze the accounts, all because I had dared to question her. She expected me to crumble, to come crawling back, begging for a place in the empire she built. What she didn't know was that the empire had a foundation, and I was the one who'd poured the concrete. We met 7 years ago. She was just a manager then, ambitious, brilliant, ruthless. I was the quiet consultant who knew how to make numbers bend in our favor. She called me her secret weapon, said I made her look like a genius. I told her she already was one. She just needed cleaner data. We built everything together. Late nights, stolen coffees, whispered strategies under fluorescent lights. I watched her rise, from manager to executive to CEO, carrying both our names in her shadow. But somewhere along the way, we became her. My quiet strength turned into her invisible asset. My ideas, her announcements. My trust, her leverage. Then, one night, during a board dinner, I overheard her joke. I married a loyal accountant. Every CEO needs one. They laughed. She didn't correct them. That was the first crack. The second came when I found the new contract on her desk. A prenup, backdated, forged signatures. Mine included. I didn't confront her. I didn't shout. I smiled. Told her I was heading to my brother's for the weekend. Instead, I went to a lawyer. A quiet one. The kind who prefers paper trails to conversations. That's when I learned what she'd done. Siphoned my consultancy into her company, moved intellectual property under her name, rerouted dividends through shell accounts. My name had been erased from the very systems I'd built. It wasn't betrayal, it was erasure. So I planned my revenge, not with rage, but precision. I started with access. She'd changed the locks, but not the server passwords. She thought she'd outsmarted me, forgot that every key system her company used was coded by me. I didn't hack her, I simply logged in. Quietly. I extracted the financial reports, the falsified documents, the ghost payments to her personal offshore accounts. She'd hidden millions under R&D projects. Clever, but not clever enough. Then I reached out to someone she trusted, her CFO. He thought she'd cut me out of everything. I made him an offer, immunity in exchange for cooperation. He didn't hesitate. Together, we built a case, a digital autopsy of her empire. It took 2 months. Every night, I worked in silence, watching her on TV, giving speeches about integrity and leadership. I didn't feel hatred, just balance waiting to be restored. The night she sent that text, the one about the locks, I knew she was testing me. She wanted to see me humiliated, homeless, weak. I smiled at the irony, because by then, the deal was already done. 2 days before, I'd sold the evidence to one of her competitors, in exchange for equity, not cash. And part of that deal required them to file a whistleblower report with the Financial Crimes Authority. When her lawyer called, I didn't answer. When he emailed, "We have a problem, call immediately," I was already watching the news. Breaking, CEO under investigation for corporate fraud and embezzlement. Her company's stock fell 47% by noon. By evening, the board had voted her out. She tried calling me 13 times. I didn't block her, I just let it ring. When we finally met again, it wasn't in our home. It was in the boardroom she used to command. She looked smaller somehow, her voice no longer carrying that effortless authority. "You did this," she whispered. I met her eyes. Calm. "No," I said. "You did this. I just helped everyone see it." She tried to cry, tried to play the victim. But tears don't work when the room is filled with lawyers and shareholders. Her empire crumbled the same way it was built: fast, cold, efficient. A month later, I stood in the same driveway where she'd once locked me out. The locks were new again, but this time I had the key. The board had transferred ownership of several assets to settle her debts. The house was one of them. I didn't move back in. I just opened the door, walked through every room in silence, and stood in the office where she used to plan her victories. The echo of her laughter still lingered somewhere in the corners. I let it fade. Then I left. I live quietly now. No noise, no empire. Just balance. People say revenge never brings peace. Maybe they're right. But justice does. And sometimes, justice just needs someone patient enough to wait behind the locks until the right moment to turn the key.